Hello friends, I'm Lady Sophokleia, and this is my first podcast ever. So this first podcast is going to be about me, who I am, my background, and why I'm holding this space. In the next podcast, I'm going to talk about Hermekateia, exactly what it is, and in order to do that, I'm also going to talk about thought and frequency and what they are and how they correlate to unverified personal gnosis and these types of things. So, welcome to the Hermekateia Podcast, and thank you for listening. So, I've been a practicing witch for over 25 years now. I actually dedicated myself to Wicca on my 18th birthday, but I'm not Wiccan anymore. I was for several years, and that kind of opened me up to other ways of practicing witchcraft, other ways of believing. So initially, I was drawn more to the goddess than the god because, feminine energy, which is very much lacking in our patriarchal world. And so for a long time, I did that, but it was, a very vague kind of Mother Earth type goddess. And there wasn't really any ritual, any worship. I wouldn't say I necessarily worship now, but devotion. Of course, I was devoted, to the earth, to the ecosystem, to nature, but that's really not the same thing as being devoted to a particular deity. And as I progressed and as I learned more, I soon discovered that in order to progress, to truly progress and to take my magic to the next level, I needed to nail down my goddess by name. And so that got me looking into Hekate. And Hekate is a goddess who, back in my day, when I was a young little witchling, Hekate was seen as a very dark goddess. She was depicted very negatively, and so a lot of people, myself included, were quite afraid to approach her. But more and more, I felt myself drawn to her. So I started looking into her. I started studying about her. And what I found were both in ancient Greek interpretations and modern interpretations of Hekate, there was a whole other side of her that I didn't know about. And I learned about the Hekate that we see in the story of Persephone's descent. And this Hekate is kind. She loves children. She has a special place in her heart for mothers. And she is helpful and she's there when you need her. So this changed my entire perception of Hekate because I had already long been drawn to Persephone as a goddess. But again, she kind of embodies, she's the queen of the underworld. She's the goddess of the underworld. So she definitely has some more negative qualities that I didn't, at least when I was young, necessarily want to mess with. Now I'm more experienced, more understanding of Persephone as a goddess. And, we'll get to all that eventually. But I became very, very interested in the Eleusinian mysteries and trying to figure out what that was all about. As I, slowly wrapped my mind around the idea of paganism, for me, it took a really long time. I eventually chose the Greek pantheon because I live in Western society. I'm from Western society, and Greek and Roman gods and iconography are all around us, all over the place. Like, if you know what you're looking for, really, you see it everywhere. And so for me, I just felt like these deities, because I was already connected with them in a way, would be much easier for me to connect with. And that has borne out and it has served me well. I have had a very easy time connecting with Hermes and Hekate. So speaking of Hermes, it's funny because I was never connected to a god figure, a masculine deity, because I felt so burned by Christianity and I didn't want to. I felt like the masculine divine has enough presence in the world. It doesn't need me to add to it. This is what I thought for a long time. And this thinking eventually revealed itself to be false in a number of ways in order to understand ourselves, because each and every one of us has the masculine, divine, and feminine inside of us. It's just a question of which is dominant. Is one of them even dominant? And many people, that's not the case. They don't have a dominant side. But if so, which one is dominant? And that you can connect with. And so I've always been, extremely feminine coded, extremely girly. I was a girly girl. I felt far more connected to feminine divine energy than to masculine divine energy. But working with Hekate, she actually led me to Hermes through the Greek magical papyri. And then the Greek magical papyri led me to the corpus hermeticum. As I'm learning more about these deeper levels of magic, Hermes is coming through more and more to me, and I begin to realize he's always been with me. I'm a Gemini sun, and Gemini is also very prominent in my chart, and Mercury is actually my chart ruler. Mercury, of course, being obviously the planet, but also the Roman name for the Greek god Hermes. And there's a lot that's related to that. Mercury's speed, its proximity to the sun, etc. And I will get into that much later. But for now, just wanted to note that connection between Hermes and the Roman god Mercury and the planet as well. So, in looking into all this, I realized that, he's actually very prominent in my life. And so that's enabled me to connect with him pretty easily. And in fact, Hermes is a deity that is easy for basically anyone to connect to, because he's so concerned with humanity. He, according to several civilizations, and most notably the Egyptians, he's the one who taught us how to communicate. He taught us language. He also taught us numbers. He also taught us astrology. And the reason that I connect, that would be the Egyptian god Thoth, but the reason that I connect that deity with Hermes is because, and I speak about this in one of my articles, is because the Greeks, when, Herodotus, when they first arrived, supposedly first, but when they first arrived in Egypt, the Greeks realized that they got most of their religion, most of the belief system from the Egyptians, and they were the ones who connected Hermes with the god Thoth. So he is kind of the father of civilization in many, many ways. And if you read the ancient Hermetic writings, like the Corpus Hermeticum, you'll come to discover, or at least I came to discover, that he's very concerned with humanity. He came here, he taught us all these things. It's one of his epithets, diaktoros, teacher, guide. And he's also the messenger of the gods, meaning that he is the one that connects with us. He's the one that talks to us. And the Egyptians actually called him he who comes when called. So he came through very strongly for me, even more strongly than Hekate. I started receiving a lot of unverified personal gnosis, UPG, when I started to be devoted to Hekate, when I devoted myself to Hekate. And that increased enormously when I dedicated myself to both Hermes and Hekate. So it's pretty wild, actually. Hermes wants to communicate with us. He wants to talk to us. And I feel, through my UPG with him, that he very much sees himself as kind of a father figure to us. And his goal, like if you've read these writings, his goal has always been to unite as many people as possible under one banner. And what I learned through my UPG with Hekate is that their goals are aligned. So Hekate's goal, as I understand it, through my UPG with her, through my work with her, is to bring the goddess back to humanity. Because we have vast majority, especially in the West, especially Western culture, we have shunned and abandoned the goddess for 2,000 years now. And not only shunned and abandoned her, but really treated her like absolute dirt, literally demonized her. And for me, I see all the different goddesses of all the different religions, but I also see one overarching goddess that is the femininity of the world, that is within each and every one of us, every single living thing, but especially people who are more feminine. She shares a special connection with us. And I believe, again, through the UPG that I've had, I believe that the reason why Hekate seems to be coming through to so many witches at the same time is because she wants us to bring back the goddess to the world. She wants us to bring back that devotion, that love. And it's only through our devotion and love of the goddess that she can return to us. And so she's coming through to us, and we are here to bring the goddess, to bring that energy back to humanity, bring it back to life. And so I believe that's absolutely what we are here for. Those of us who are witches, those of us not only who worship Hekate, but who worship any goddess. Any of us. We are all here to bring that energy back to the world, to bring that love of the goddess back to the world, because it is so sorely needed. Humanity's at a crossroads right now, and they want to help us. They are the crossroad deities after all. So if we're at a crossroads, they can meet us here. And that's why I'm holding this space. I'm holding this space because Hermes and Hekate want to unite people. They want to unite as many people as possible. They want us to learn how to ascend. And they want as many people to be able to do this as possible. So I'm holding this space for my Lord and Lady, to whom I am forever devoted. I am their vessel, and as I have asked them to speak through me, they do. And so, I have lit their beacons, and the message that I have for you from Hermekate, from Hermes and Hekate, is this. Come and join the dance, the spiral dance upward to infinity. Until next time, my lovelies, thank you for listening.